The Anti-Corruption Commission, ACC, said they're investigating into corruption allegations relating to the Institute of Public Administration Management and Female Properties of Lagos, Nigeria. And this is as a result of a publication in the Africa Confidential August 2024 publication, which contains corruption allegations relating to IPAM and the Female Properties of Lagos, Nigeria, for a $50 million project for the construction of a new campus in Bullet Town, Western Area Rural District. So this morning, to discuss this and the fight against corruption, we have Sylvanus Blake, who's the Public Relations Officer at the Anti-Corruption Commission. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here.
So as is the mandate of the ACC as it was established by an act of parliament, your job is to actually, you have to investigate, you have to also prevent, prosecute,
sure.
You have to punish corruption activities or related matters. How is it you carry out this work practically, day-to-day operations?
Thank you very much. So, like you cleverly stated, the mandate is in Section 7 of the Act, which prescribes our general functions. And overarching mandate is to take every necessary action in regard detecting, suppressing, and eradicating corruption. So, the four-pronged approaches you mentioned: public education, awareness raising on the dangers of corruption, the ills of corruption, is one of the practical things we are doing. And this activity is part of it. So we take deliberate, calculated efforts to inform the state, the populace, about corruption, how dangerous it is, that there's no profit in it. Even the momentary gains people make, the dangers far supersede some form of benefit that people think they may get from corruption. This is to re-radicalize us, like the imams and the pastors are doing in the houses of God, to keep conscientizing us, because it has to be a decision to not involve in what is wrong. Yeah. And then we do prevention, like you said, which primarily practically see us going into public institutions, conducting examinations in concert with them, not away from them. We call them systems review processes. Their systems are tested, so we know what are the possibilities, gray areas, weaknesses for corruption to thrive. And we discuss it with them in roundtable conferences. And working with these institutions, we bring out what we call best practices, corruption prevention tools, and we ensure they comply with their implementation. And then we do investigation. We do intelligence, sourcing of information. Majority of what we operate with regards to investigation, we get from the public. Those who call, write, to make complaints, and you guys in the media, your publications, the items you put out, whether the new media or the traditional media, we are interested. Once it attracts our attention, we go for the substance in it, we spring into action, and then we prosecute. When we prosecute, like you said, we seek for the punishment. We don't have powers to punish. We go to court, convince the bench beyond the reasonable doubt threshold that A did wrong, punish him for us. And the punishment is in the law. So the judges will refer to the law, and we've seen it over and again. Or where we can't go to court, we recover. The objective of recovery is to restitute the state, to ensure the state do not lose. That's why there's a 10% extrapolation we calculate on every amount you are paying. And then we bar that public officer or those public officers from holding public office. So practically, that's how we go about the mandate.
Is it safe to say that the ACC is slipping on its mandate of detection or prevention, and taking a cue as well from the $200 million scam Smart City with regards another property developer before then, which even saw the Anti-Corruption Commissioner in attendance of the launch of that project? Is it safe to say the ACC is slipping in that wing?
No, maybe you may want to know what was the responsibility, or what role did the ACC play, or could have played in preventing this? Did it play its role? We are not the only accountability and integrity gatekeeper in Sierra Leone. We have several stratas of gatekeepers. And when one gatekeeper refuses to keep the gate, the entire security architecture is weak of that facility.
Is this you balancing your responsibility to others?
I would cue in from the motherland city, SAGA.
Okay.
We have no business in permitting who runs an enterprise in Sierra Leone. We are never. There is no law that says the city should vet when Victor Jones wants to establish a business. We have the Corporate Affairs Commission with that mandate to do due diligence. NRA is here. We have people register, pay. The Freetown City Council here. People register businesses. They are giving licenses. The ACC does not, will not, except otherwise if there is a law someday that will say we go. So they are coming here and doing business. We can't give a fiat, neither do we give an approval rating. No. Let's have that clear. Secondly, we started investigating the motherland city. But when it has to do with private, we can't do anything. That's not our mandate. That was a suspected fraud. We investigated the culprits and other people. We arrested, detained for some period. When we concluded the investigation, there was a press release. We told them that what we have seen could be fraud that the police can handle. We refer that matter officially to the police, which the police normally do when they equally investigate and realize this is fraud, but this is the kind of fraud that the ACC can handle. We have the Theft Act, the Larceny Act. The ACC does not implement those legal regimes. We only implement the National Anti-Corruption Act of 2008 as amended. That's the mandate. So yes, it appears to be some amount of corruption, but does it equate to the one that our mandate covers? No. Who covers that? The police. We referred it to them. It was not in secret. It was in public. On the issue of detecting, there is no security architecture in the world that detects everything. We have a mandate to be proactive, not always reactive. We have our intelligence people. When our Scorpion Squad do sting successfully, that was a proactive action. The last one we did was in Freetown here at Shaka Stevens Street Post Office on the sale of the COVID-19 vaccine cards. That was proactive. But how did it happen? We got intelligence. We don't see everywhere. Only God has that ability. We don't know everything. Only God does. And we can't do everything. Only God. So we are too a human-led institution with limitations. And if we cannot see it, we may not be able to do anything until someone brings it to our attention. So that is why one of our core values is coalition building and partnership. And that is why there are constituencies in this nation. The marriages that the Anti-Corruption Commission has with them is like, quote unquote, the Catholic marriage. You know, they scatter. It doesn't matter. When it gets rocky, we go for counseling. One is the media. We can't divorce the media. Because you have far better opportunities to see. That's your only work. You scoop for information. As we speak now, there are hundreds of files. Investigators are working on it. There are hundreds of files. Intelligence officers are working on it. It's not like they will wake up in the morning, go stand in one part of Freetown, be scooping for intelligence. You won't survive by that. Nowhere. You feed on information. So that is why sometimes some things happen until they are brought to our attention. We don't know. Not that we are sleeping on that mandate.
Okay, so in the case of IPAM and FEMAB properties now that we're dealing with, what is to be known about it?
Thank you very much. So at this stage, it's good to know that Africa Confidential, a media outlet committed to investigative journalism and promoting humanities, published in their August publication some damning allegations that caught our attention. These are allegations. It doesn't mean because they put it out, it's now stricto sensu, hook, line, sinker, that all people should be charged tomorrow morning. Because what happens, we have a frenzied society, as long as it is in the public domain, are the truth. So the outcome of investigation to some people is already determined now from that report that Africa Confidential put out, which is a very good thing, and we appreciate them. And we appreciate every one of you guys who are lending your voices to the cause of accountability and transparency. What are the issues in that report that, one, we are looking at? It was a $50 million public-private partnership deal, signed. The initial discussion started in 2017, signed in August, I think the 8th of August, based on their report in 2018, between IPAM, Sierra Leone, the Constituent College of the University of Sierra Leone, and FIMAB Properties from Lagos, Nigeria, supposed to be a real estate tycoon, yeah? And public-private partnership is one of the trajectories that is being promoted by government to ensure private people with capital invest in public service delivery and then recover their money later. So that's what we've been seeing happening. So a lot of privatization moves are taking place and private partnerships with public institutions. So that's one, supposedly, based on that allegation. It was a $50 million deal. FIMAB was to provide, based on the signed agreement as per the report in confidential, Africa Confidential, FIMAB was to provide 75% of that amount, which is $37.5 million. IPAM was to provide 25%, which is $12.5 million. IPAM was to be guaranteed by the government of Sierra Leone, based on their report, that if anything goes wrong, FIMAB can fall on government to recover. They were to build a new campus at Bure Town, some 25 miles from here, and it was going to house 2,000 students and 100 university staff. This was to last for 3 years. The building would have been complete based on what Africa Confidential put out. FIMAB demanded, based on their report, IPAM to commit itself from their end with the 25%, which is 12.5 million. FIMAB, Africa Confidential is now alleging IPAM paid 4.5 out of the 12.5. And then FIMAB was to commence work. But then in their allegation too, what is interesting is that they referenced communication between the former financial secretary, Mr. Sajusu, who raised concerns over that deal with regards to some financial best practices that he was supposing should be addressed before IPAM enters the agreement. They are alleging that those concerns were not addressed. The agreement was signed. Ever since the agreement was signed, they told us, the public, in their report, that there were some initial art movement. Bulldozers were on the side, did some land clearing. That is it. Since 2018, nothing, based on their report. And so $4.5 million already left. Based on their report, IPAM was to pay for the $37.5 million in 5 years on quarterly basis of $1.3 million from tuition and rental of the hostels facilities. That is in Africa Confidential's report too. That too is a subject matter of our investigation. So per quarter, per year, the 4 quarters in a year will be around $7 million. And in their report, they stated that Mr. Sajusu raised a concern about the effectiveness of that agreement. There is even a passage, I've read the report of Africa Confidential that reads, that says the entire rent and fees of 2,000 students plus another 1,000 cannot equal to 7 million per year. So there was a danger that IPAM could not have been able to pay. That was what they reported. So these are all, and then clearly they allege there was no due diligence followed because of all these difficulties I've explained here, and then they still went ahead. And then public officers have a duty of care to the public, the people of Sierra Leone, when they take decisions with regards utilization of public resources. That is why we are investigating. Did they follow due process? Did they do due diligence? How come? Is it true that the agreement was signed? Did they follow procurement, lay down procurement rules? If they did not, what is the excuse? Were they given a permission to go anyway, anyhow? Because those provisions are in the laws. If they did not get the permission, how did they? Who did what? Did anything go wrong? What went wrong? Who went wrong? and hold them accountable.
Quickly before Jones comes in, according to the African Confidential reports, it says present at the contract signing ceremony at State House on 2nd August 2018 were FEMAP's Nigerian CEO Abiodun Aguda, the FEMAP Director for Sierra Leone Mayela Dean Toure, Sierra Leone's Chief Minister then, David Francis, and USL's then Vice Chancellor and Principal ex-Brigadier General Fode Sarr. How would the public trust the Anti-Corruption Commission to carry out its investigations and, you know, bring out a very straight and factual report coming from these findings?
The same way the public has seen us deal with all manner of issues. The persons involved with regards to their stature, placement, is of no moment. It's of no moment. We've passed those tests severally in this country. Who is involved? With all due respect to anybody who is involved, the anti-corruption does not abuse the rights of people. The anti-corruption does not victimize, does not intimidate. In our 24 years experience or leadership in the fight against corruption, no one person of interest to us has ever gone to court or come to you, the media, explaining how he was coerced, intimidated, threatened, waterboarded, or to get evidence. No, we are professionals. We deal with people professionally. We come here, we talk on issues. I go out, I see the people, we shake hands. We are not enemies. That's what I want to establish. And we're not pursuing after any set of people. It is the evidence that leads us. And where the evidence takes us, we will go there. And what is to be addressed will be addressed. So let the public be assured. We are not looking at the people. We are looking at what has happened. And if what has happened was done by somebody, the person will have to face the consequences if that action was wrong, Victor. And we have to, as a nation, have to be above this. So the investigations have commenced. We will see where it takes us. And let's be guarded. I continue to reiterate here. It is a report from a credible media entity. But that doesn't make it the whole truth until the investigation is done. We respect it, we appreciate it, that's why we have taken it. We ourselves believe that such grievous allegations deserves our attention. That's why we are going into it. But we are going into it ambivalent, not leaning on anybody's side, following the traces. And when we produce those reports, some of them have several pages. You read them. You don't need to be a lawyer or talk too much book money for dinner head. You will understand the processes we followed. And if we say we are charging, you know why. If we say we are not charging, we are recovering, we will explain why. If we say we will not see evidence, we will again state why.
You see, Sylvanus, let's discuss due diligence here. You see, I find it very hard to even believe that this actually happened. You know, it's a stark irony because the people who are being duped here are quote-unquote professionals in accounting and financial business and all of that. It's a business university, for instance. There are professors there, people with PhDs, you know, double masters, people whom I would term as perhaps the creme de la cremes when you talk about business in this country. And these are the very individuals that are being duped here. You see, I find it impossible even to believe the irony that it's actually happening, which is why I want us to speak to due diligence. Now, this thing that happened in the past is just a few months, not up to even a year down the line, after this country was duped heavy sums of dollars, you understand, from the supposed smart city, you know, and now we are seeing this. It's almost becoming a pattern now that these governments or key officials in this country are being duped. All of these monies are taxpayers' monies, you understand. Now we have just flung, you know, $4.5 million, you know, in the wind, and it's even impossible that that could be recovered. But the question I want to ask you now, Sylvanus, isn't there a mechanism, a process that government institutions should follow, you know, before indulging in any kind of business? I mean, quote unquote, due diligence. How is it that government ministries are missing this very crucial component of business, due diligence? And how should it be done in the first place?
So diligence is carefulness. It's a way of doing things not haphazard. Anything less being haphazard, being rousy, being urgent, being superfluous. Once you eliminate urgency for quality, then you are doing due diligence to yourself. It's a personal trait people should have. You didn't wake up dressed like this. She didn't wake up dressed like this. You knew you had a program today. You know the expectation of your audience. Thousands of people are following us. I follow AYV. So you are dressing here to appear to be suited for purpose. AYV did not put every of these fine details into your job description. But there are certain expected standards of behavior that are just imperative. You don't excuse them. And one such is to appear here appealing. Just a look at you. Some people, I like the way me man look. Like just stay. And then the story begin to come. So you have to have addressing your minds to those fine details. For me, personally, it's what due diligence is. And it doesn't matter the kind of guest you are going to have here. You want to appear here ill-prepared and unpresentable. So it doesn't matter who is rushing you. You go take your time, sir. Sometimes overnight you begin packaging how I want to be. In addition to your research on the questions you are going to ask. All those questions you put to us here, it's not rocket science. There is no college that is offering those things. You went on the internet, to our website, to other places, to source them. This is what due diligence. Doing your part of it properly, so that the fault will not be on you. Because if there is a fault, people will be held accountable. So due diligence to me is the antidote, now the vaccine for avoid accountability, being scrutinized and being termed irresponsible or not accountable. My personal analysis of the situation. Wow, public officers sometimes, how I don't wish this turns out to be true. Personally, I just suppose say maybe something else might happen. But if this is true, I'll be disappointed. Because it's not the first time. It started with wealth builder. People were frauded. Is it my coin?
It's super advertised.
Before then, some coin came. Okay. The people were frauded. And intellectuals were victims. Super advertised. The fraud has not even ended. I still hear rumors around that. Motherland City. Fraud. When shall people learn to cross their T's, dot their I's? Because if now you and that man, personal, me and Victor, I fraud you, I run away, you can desire to forgive me. If it has to do with taxpayers' money, we will not forgive you. Exactly. You will not be forgiven. There is no man of God out there that is going to preach to us to forgive you. We will not. Because these are hard times. Things are difficult. So when people take decisions that have to do with the utilization of state resources, Ben Kefal has always said, the People's Commissioner. So sometimes lock yourself in your office before signing and ask yourself these questions. Is this right? Will this have a direct effect on my children, my life, my community? In whose interest am I taking this decision? My pocket or the people? And I tell you, that is why even the rich are poor in our country. Because like the songwriter said, share your riches with the poor before they share their poverty with you. If you are the only rich man in my community, I understand the pressure you are under. You won't enjoy your riches. Because they're not thief you motka battery, they will break your window. I'm not giving right to them to go and steal. But then they prepare them now from your gate to your office. How long will you want to be dishing out your hard hand to people? Why not create the enabling environment for everybody to survive? And so these decisions taken, if we've gotten another campus of IPAM that can house 2,000 students, which, if this is true, was the intention, I begin to imagine the kind of peace, tranquility, and convivial environment our learners we are going to have. That is, according to the allegation, well, the threat. So, so due diligence has no alternative. If people don't do, they can't tell us anything. They have to.
If I should borrow the words of the ACC Commissioner, while reading the report yesterday, I must say sadness descended on me. Indeed, you know, it's such. Oh, perhaps I should borrow your words too. I wish this is not true, you know. But see, the thing is, I read that Professor Fodisar had requested, you know, for the funds to be returned, and up till now they haven't received a word from the FIMAB, you know, construction company. How realistic is it that our monies will be sent back to us? Can we even recuperate these funds?
Well, at this stage, we have not arrived at that juncture. But let's say we arrived at where we have now concluded that $4.5 million of public funds that should be used to address very crucial needs of that university have gone down the drain. Who will hold role players accountable? So if those who took the decision follow due process, I'm not a lawyer, but I have a reason to believe that they will explain themselves to convince Francis Benkaifala and the team of prosecutors and our investigators that, yeah, we did our best. And if now they did their best and paid, and he who received the money did not come to complete his tax, there are several avenues to recoup. If they did not do the needful, I have a reason to believe that they will be part of those held accountable for our money. If they did the needful as per law and there is evidence convincing that, oh yes, they advertised, there were bids, due diligence was done, a background check was done on this company, in fact they are in this business, the payment was procedural, no procedure was jumped, no procedure was slighted, and people did not do this for their personal aggrandizement, no kickbacks occurred. In my understanding and estimation, that could be a clean deal. And then we now ask the other party. Of course, we can reach out to FANED. In their piece, somebody was in Sierra Leone, who was their country manager, whatever. Fine. In Nigeria. Nigeria is big brother in West Africa and arguably in Africa. We have a very good bilateral relationship with Nigeria. We have the ECOWAS protocol on combating and preventing corruption. We have the African Union Convention on corruption. We have the UNCAC, the UN Convention. We have the Mutual Legal Assistance Framework. We can rely on all those avenues to talk to Nigeria, to help us know who are these people. Help us, if they are the only people to be held accountable. So the investigation is not targeted at one person. It is not targeted at this stage at recovery. It is targeted at knowing in its entirety what obtained, who did what went wrong, and then the questions can be answered. And then we'll know. Once we know now, you will help us get the money if the priority is to get the money. If it is to charge to court to send the message, we will charge to court. If there is no case, we have to say there is no case. And if there is no case, there should be no loss to the state. If there is a loss to the state, from the pattern that I've seen the ACC going, I've stayed there for some very long period, and the pattern I've seen in the past 6 years, we don't want the state to lose anything. So as long as there is a loss in this investigation, people will help us recover those losses. They will.
Now, let's talk about the similar corruption cases in the future. Because as we've already seen, it's like a pattern. You know, there's mismanagement, there's a lack of due diligence and the likes. And as you've mentioned, you also have state resources going to waste. Are there any ongoing or upcoming initiatives, you know, that the ACC will embark on, especially when it comes to prevention, rather than, you know, being reactive in most cases?
Yeah, there are always, you know, we keep recalibrating. Last year, the commissioner took his entire management on retreat to recalibrate. What the criminals have ahead of law enforcers all over the world is time. They have the time. They know when they want to strike, how they want to strike, where they want to strike. What law enforcers do when we want to prevent is to, based on their pattern, the history of what they've been doing, maybe they'll come from this angle, you go and block that area. So even when you see roadblocks, The police will mount checkpoints a day 38, a day after my shaka. It is based on history. They have calculated, seen the pattern. What if the criminals choose now not to use the highway, enter the bush? It becomes a problem. So it's an ongoing recalibration process. You have to be ahead. Criminals are never stupid. They are one of the smartest people you find. Anywhere. Smartest. Joaquim El Chapo de Guzman, who escaped prison in America more than once, you can't tell me he's an idiot. No. One of the smartest. All these guys causing trouble around the world, horse puppy and all, they are smart. So you want to undo them, you have to help yourself with some level of smartness that is beyond theirs. And so prevention, that's what we do. For example, we've introduced the scorecard for MD. And now the prevention department of the ACC is moving across MD. It's headed by no less a person but the director himself, Mr. Rashid Toure, to check on their compliance, because we have been doing compliance monitoring. I will just come out to say 10 MDAs are compliant, 5 are not compliant. We'll give you the names of the MDAs, but no percentage of their level of compliance, because the book is so big and the information put out to one where you read and quick and go do your work. Otherwise, can't put in a library. So what we are now doing is we're preparing the scorecard, which will be like the school report card. So if ministry A failed, then fail, and the minister will be told, your men, you and your men, you have failed. Because we've given all of them recommended best practices. That's one of the strategies. Because we don't have problem with best practices. We have a problem with adherence to those best practices in Sierra Leone. So those scorecards will be out this December. The commissioner made that clear. Yeah. And it will detail, by the grace of God, what they all did. So that you now will call them to say, you failed in this area. What went wrong? Not to like now we chanting or putting anybody on the spotlight, but they owe the public a duty. Secondly, we are developing the new regime of the National Anti-Corruption Strategy, and the media is lucidly represented in that process. By no less a person but Mr. Omar Fofana, an established and distinguished media practitioner. And we have moved away from having consultants from outside Sierra Leone to come and help us develop a strategy to fight corruption in Sierra Leone. Not that they don't know, but they don't feel it. Nobody outside Sierra Leone is feeling the effect of corruption like you and I, who wake up in our faces every day. There is corruption, hitting you, punching you, depriving you of I call them God-ordained benefits. Some benefits are not because you have relationships. Just because you are Sierra Leone, you are Sierra Leone and you deserve them. So developing that strategies in advanced stages, consultations have been held with all facets of society. I will say this for a fact. All facets, the big, the small, the whatever, including His Excellency the President, including the oppositions. And it will give us a blueprint of where we are going the next 5 years, from this 2024 to 2028. And then our approaches are malleable. Okay. We scan the environment, we know this is a new pattern, we go there. When it was becoming chaotic in the education arena, especially interview and admission pattern, we can't control it. We signed MOU with Ministry of Education, Teaching Service Commission, and all the relevant stakeholders. WAEC. Today, you see, even before now they are doing interviews for JSS1, price list is out as to what you should legitimately pay for in all government and government-assisted schools. It is not going to end that. We have told the school authorities, pace them so the parents will know, so that you don't go compelling parents to buy geography textbook, mathematics textbook that the government has provided is in the library. Let the children go and read it there. Do the assignment. They can't even come on weekends. It's their library. Things are hard. One parent paying 3.5 million for JSS1 child, that's. And last year you also what the historic step, this year, the historic step the ministry took, suspending 6 grade A principals for disregarding those recommendations. So our prevention efforts will continue. We did a systems review at Milton Magai University, Technical University. We are monitoring their compliance. Maybe after this investigation, we will now do a post-mortem at IPAM too. I'm just saying maybe. So we keep, it's a roller coaster, we keep going.
You know, as the report stated, there were multiple red flags, you know, including failed projects, legal issues in Nigeria on FEMAP's part. And it seems these were seemingly ignored. If this is the case, how does the ACC or what are the plans, you know, to hold accountable those who might have overlooked these red flags that were actually raised?
I continue to say how I wish it is not true. All the allegations just turn out to be maybe misconception, not all equally doubting the integrity and the thoroughness of the job that Africa Confidential have done. I'm just wishing. But if it turns out to be true, people will be held accountable. That's a loss.
Like who?
Those who took decisions, all of them.
Professor Forisa is no longer there. You know.
He can be contacted. If the need arises, he will come. Yeah? For example, the New York Chancery Building case in court now. Some of those charged, we are no longer at the Chancery. But they did it when they were there. We went for them, we brought them in. It has always happened. So you can do a wrong today, 10 years after a commonado, there is evidence, we go for you. So that's the opportunity we have. So I will say, let's wait and see the outcome of the investigation. But $4.5 million is the face value of the alleged loss to the university and by extension to all of us, the public. And the decision that led to the remittal of that amount of money can be identified. We have what to do. Payments like that don't happen at PZ. You go give person back, give you something, no. Our transactions, we will go for those records. When we issue our section 56 and 57 notices, these are instructions signed by the commissioner, equivalent to a court order, demanding, for example, the banks to give us all transactions, records of all, demanding the university to give us all records, demanding whoever was in it, the ministry, to give us all records. We scoop through those records, we go for people. They come and tell us what part they played, who were there, who did what, who did not do what. We will sum it up all by now determining what really happened. Okay. So that is why I've said the names that have been mentioned by the team of journalists who did this good job is good, but to us it's of no moment. It is the what. So what's next for this investigation? So where do you go from here? We commenced even the day before the press release. We commenced on Monday. Okay. We reached out to the university. We invited persons of interest from the university. Investigations like this will always be expanded, so you don't miss out on anything. And then as you come in, like a fishing net, you narrow on your catch what you can have. So they've started coming. The investigation team is in full swing, working on this. I know the public want to say how soon, but why we've never given a specific date on when we'll finish this. It's not like in construction where you see, say we are now at window height, lintel height. By next week we'll begin roofing, all being equal. Investigation will take you from the known to the unknown. What you know is what you begin to investigate or you feel has happened. And then all of a sudden you begin to go into things. So this may take us some days, some weeks, some months. I don't want to procrastinate. I know the commissioner is insistent that we complete this as soon as possible. But we equally, like you asked the sensitive question, we will equally not undo due diligence because we want to complete quick. Okay. It will be dangerous. So we will take our greatest time, address all the issues. And once we come out, like in many, if not all of our investigations, you read the report and understand that this is why the commission concluded like this.
So we do have some messages on our Facebook page, which we would like to read through to get his response. Yeah, Victor.
Yeah, this first one says from Osam Conte, Salon we not ready for land yet. Now Boku talk force embedded with blind politics.
And Bernard Fomolu is saying, be preemptive by creating decoy projects just for the purpose of weeding out corrupt persons from the public sector.
Michael Coker is saying, are the universities being audited? If so, the auditors should have discovered this scam.
Barnett again, the gentleman from the ACC have spoken about preventive methods of reducing corruption in Sierra Leone. I think he should also consider preemptive methods. By this I mean the ACC should endeavor to plant the seed of doubt and fear in the public sector and then the private sector eventually. If I have in my mind that the person I'm dealing with could be an ACC informant, I'll intuitively be inclined to refrain from corrupt practices.
Victor, remember, academic education and common sense is a whole different ball game. Also, the inferior complex towards foreigners and, of course, corruption. These are all issues that lead us to this point.
Sir Koniga Mustafa Kokowai says this is the same thing that has happened in Kono. The Baffin River Bridge collapsed under construction. The contractors are nowhere to be found. This project was under the oversight of NACSA. Now we have our community struggling in this area. We have heard of Interlink's construction company and we can't find information about this company. NACSA has to come and explain to the Kono people.
Usman Prince Suleiman Kavoni is saying this is not a fraudulent act, but mere wickedness by our own citizens to receive kickbacks from these deals.
Michael Coker, are the universities being audited? If so, the auditors should have discovered this scam.
If an institution that produces auditors, accountants, bankers, business administrators and managers, etc., I'm afraid. Kamara Charles.
Usman Prince, I don't know if you've read this. I have said it in time memorial that we do not have a mechanized process and procedures as to how we conduct public affairs businesses and also lack robust monitoring. I think that will be all for my side.
The gentleman from the ACC, I'm not sure you've read this, has spoken about preventive methods. Did you read that?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, I think these are some of the messages. Sylvanus.
Thank you very much. I want to say thank you to viewers and followers. That's why I have continued to say how I wish this we are not true, because it has a lot of effects. I mean, our universities have some of the finest brains in this country. That's the production hub for the human resource of Sierra Leone. Over 95 or 98% of all public sector workers have darkened the doors of these public universities, even before going to maybe further their studies. So, majorly, what we exhibit, what we manifest by way of professionalism, intellect, acumen, have been gotten from these places. So these are revered places. These are places we owe in utmost respect, and these are places we don't want their sanctity and dignity to be interfered with by corruption. If any place should be safe, that are one of the places them. So what has happened is an allegation, as at yet we are investigating, but just that it hovers around the echelon of academia in Sierra Leone is embarrassing. And it's a wake-up call to all of us. Few months ago, I think about 2 months ago, there was a conviction in Kenema of a finance officer at the Eastern Technical University for embezzling fees that students were to pay fraudulently. Created a parallel payment system where he receives fees for students. I think it's Shaka or Sheku, Mansare also. He will receive, it's Sheku, I'm not sure. He will receive monies from the students, give them bank deposit slips and university receipts, depriving the university of money, much needed money. It's embarrassing. He was convicted. He can't work there any longer. But has the university there at the ETU learned from this lesson? Did Jala learn? Did Commerce learn? Did IPAM learn? Did Probe College learn? Did all of them, IAMTEC, have you learned? And then now we've come to IPAM. It's embarrassing to say that we can't talk about this matter without calling their names. And once you call their names, the name of the institution, there are names of people you hold in high esteem that begin to play in your mind. But then it's an investigation. And they are all public officers and it's a public institution. So we cannot be spared when we are to be scrutinized. Even the ACC commissioner is often scrutinized by all of you guys here. Often you bring him here, asking him questions on his job. That doesn't make him weak. That makes him a servant to the people. And so those who are being scrutinized, those who are being questioned, those whose names are being mentioned, it doesn't mean because anybody wants to go low on them. So we will address this. We will address it with the objective of not people learning and not allowing such to reoccur. And let's see what the investigation outcome will be. There's a sensitive point on preemptive method in our prevention. And the person went down on painting a picture where everybody will suspect the next person you are dealing with. So if Victor goes out to deal with anybody, and the person will be careful, maybe Victor is a recruit, he's working on behalf of ACC or the CID. It can only happen where those affinities does not affect our decisions. But the affinities we have, political, social, academic, they disregard policies. So you know that if even Victor sees Blake doing wrong, no, because of the camaraderie, he can't say it. And we have to be bold enough. In those countries where wrong moves happen now, in the next 5 minutes, the security forces are on the alert. Everyone is a suspect. Everyone. They see you behaving strange, they call hotlines. Here, because we know everybody, even when they are suspect, now they hide them. You know they are looking for him. He's in your house. You keep him. You even tell, hey, police defend you or nobody. How do we break this vicious cycle of people committing crimes and going free? So I agree with your point. Let everybody suspect the other person that, oh, he can blow up the lead on me. But then it has to be when we disregard our connections. And Koninga on the bridge collapse. How I hope you do a further analysis around that. And then we have an office in Kono. If you think you can reach to the office, you can reach there. And there is NAXA in Kono. So you can reach out, do further research. Or the little you have, contact our office in Kono. Yeah, it was done to receive kickbacks. Well, the investigation is ongoing. Let's investigate and conclude that it was wrong and the monies went into the wrong places or we are wrongly spent. They will now begin to impute the reasons behind it. But so far, so good. The investigation just commenced, and we'll come back here on the findings.
Sylvanus, thank you very much indeed for gracing our program this morning.